Didn't think I'd get two Sonic reviews out on the exact same day, but considering I have a free day and I'm not really doing much of anything else, I figured, why not? So anyway, yeah, Toshi here again, and I decided to give you my review of the Knuckles show immediately after my review of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. It's not going to be that long because, in all honesty, I really only have one thing to talk about with the Knuckles show, so this video is mostly just going to be about that. But there's one problem I have with the Knuckles show, and it's actually the biggest reason of why I ended up not liking it upon my second viewing, and that's this show should not have had Wade be the main lead alongside Knuckles. Now, before I go any further, I'd like to preface it by saying I have nothing against Adam Pally, the actor who plays Wade. I'm sure he's a very good guy in real life. He seems like a decent, funny dude. And I don't have anything against the character of Wade either. He's not my most hated Sonic human character in the franchise. He's no Chris Thorndike. Like, I don't think anyone can be Chris Thorndike. So yeah, Wade is not the worst. It's just that he's not a character that fits the main character role, and I really didn't like it here in the Knuckles show, because I saw episode 1. For the most part, episode 1 is pretty good. It does a good job setting up the premise of the show. We get a lot of good scenes involving Knuckles, and yeah, Wade also has some pretty interesting bits, and we also get good setup to the villains. I like how the villains are two rogue gun agents working for this mysterious buyer guy who wants to get Knuckles' power. A guy who used to work for Robotnik and basically just wants to outdo him, because at this point in time we don't know where Eggman is. This is right after the second movie, so we don't know if he's alive or not or whatever. So it makes sense that some other guy's probably like showing up to outdo him, and it also makes sense that he used to be a guy who worked for Eggman, so that makes sense. So I have no problem with the show's premise or the villains or anything. My problem is that after episode 1, it feels like more and more the screen time and the focus is being put on Wade instead of Knuckles. I mean, if you pay close attention to the show, over time, Knuckles just gets shunted into the background to the point where he's not even the focus of certain episodes. By the time we get to episode 4, all the focus is on Wade, and Wade only. And I didn't like that. You give me a show called Knuckles, I'm going in expecting to see Knuckles the Echidna, not Wade the duty cop of Green Hills. No, I want to see Knuckles, but you only give me a good decent amount of Knuckles in the first episode. After that, slowly, little by little, you start taking the focus away from him and start putting it on Wade and his complicated life with his family and all that. And no, again, nothing against Wade or his actor, but I don't care about Wade's endeavors. I didn't go into Knuckles expecting to get the backstory of Wade, the deputy of Green Hills. I came in here to see a show about Knuckles getting into all kinds of wacky shenanigans now that he's living a peaceful life on Earth. In fact, that's what I thought the premise of the show was going to be when I first heard that it was announced. I thought it was going to be a show about Knuckles, like, trying to adjust to life on Earth and all the goofy shenanigans that follow in the wake of that, and we get some good comedy. Then I found out the actual premise was that Knuckles takes on Wade as like a warrior apprentice and trains him to be a great warrior like him. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can still get the exact same premise where they do a bunch of warrior related things. Heck, maybe we could have a flip coin side. Like, Wade tries to show Knuckles all the fun stuff he can do on Earth, and Knuckles tries to show Wade how to be a good warrior like him, and then hilarity ensues, right? We get that for the most part with episodes 1 and a little bit of 2, but after that, Knuckles just gets shunted into the background to the point where he doesn't even like make actual physical appearances in most of the episodes. And I feel like it's kind of disappointing. Again, it's not the worst thing I've seen from a Sonic show. It's not even the worst Sonic cartoon I've ever seen. Honest to God, I can't even make a judgment call on that because I've only seen a few of them. Also, correction, not cartoon, TV show. Most of the other Sonic shows have been cartoons, but this is like the first live action show. But still, it was very disappointed. As the saying goes, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. The show was a disappointment for me because I went in expecting to see Knuckles, and I only got him for like 10% of the show's runtime, whereas the other 90% was stolen by Wade and his very uninteresting life with his very uninteresting family. And in all honesty, you're probably wondering if there's anything I could do to improve that. Well, I feel like you can't do this premise but not have Wade be the main human character. You know who I would have picked to be the human character sharing spotlight with Knuckles? Crazy Carl. First of all, I'd like to know what happened to Carl after the first movie. He kind of just disappears and we never see him again. I feel like he just was a throwaway character to just put in the first movie to make jokes and, bring up the Sonic meme for fun. But I feel like, considering he was so obsessed with trying to prove that Sonic was real in the first movie, and then after everybody in Green Hill saw that Sonic was real, and they realized Carl wasn't crazy, it's like, you could do a lot more fun with that. I mean, after the second movie, now we got 2 more aliens running around. Imagine what Carl would think of that. But no, he kind of just disappears from the movies after that. We never see him again. I feel like at the very least, if you're going to utilize that character again, use him for the Knuckles show. In fact, that would have been actually interesting. Because Carl seems like a guy who's out of touch with reality most of the time. And to be honest, Knuckles kind of feels the same way. So how cool would it be to have those 2 characters interacting with each other, like trying to adjust to regular life with both of them being around? Because now Carl, he's like, I'm not crazy. Aliens exist. Now we got 3 of them living in our town. And then Knuckles is like, there's a lot about living on Earth that I don't understand. I wish to understand more about life on Earth and all the different strange customs these people have. So he thinks going to Carl would be the best way to learn all that stuff. But Carl's not the smartest guy in the world, and he's also kind of out of touch with reality. So both of them interacting with each other, trying to learn more about one another, and then you could have hilarity ensue in that. And then you can still keep the same premise with the villains. You could still have them trying to capture Knuckles and whatever, and then you have Carl like trying to adjust to this crazy situation, not knowing what to do, but at the same time he's still trying to get, he's still trying to help out. And then maybe you can give Carl a sad backstory like they did with Wade, but a more believable backstory. Because to be honest, I know Wade's backstory is that his father just left him in a mall somewhere. And yeah, I get that. Sometimes parents do abandon their children in random places like that. But I feel like it's too over the top. Especially considering that Wade's father is also some really popular, famous, eccentric, British-speaking bowling star, and like it kind of just feels unrealistic. Like, you can give that kind of backstory to Carl, but give it a more realistic approach. Be like, oh, my dad was never really much of a family man, and he didn't really care much about me growing up, and one day he just never came back. It was just me and my mom all alone, just trying to figure everything out. After I lost her, I just had to figure out how to get on with my life on my own, and it hasn't been easy, being the sort of recluse outcast of the town. And before you little guys show up, people used to think I was crazy, spouting out about the Blue Devil or whatever, but now everybody knows I'm not crazy. But even then, it feels like something's missing in my life. Give him a backstory like that. It'd be interesting, and it could help connect with Knuckles' arc about trying to find a home for himself on Earth and find his purpose and his sense of belonging. That could work. I feel like they should have done that instead of just using Wade and giving him like an over-the-top, unrealistic backstory and putting all the focus on him. That's another thing. Split the focus half and half between Carl and Knuckles so they equally get amounts of screen time. I get maybe they didn't give Knuckles that much screen time because maybe hiring Idris Elba to voice act for a show like this would be expensive, and it's also expensive to render a CGI character for all 6 episodes. But I feel like if you're gonna do that, like, if it's too expensive to render a CGI character or get his voice actor, at least spend the money on one thing. Maybe make the show fully animated and then it would cost less money. Or, better yet, if you didn't want to make a show in the first place because it cost too much money to render the CGI character, then they could have done what they did before the second movie came out and released prequel comics. Why not instead release a comic that takes place, like, has the plot of the Knuckles show and also acts as a prequel to Sonic 3? They could have done that, because they did it with the second movie. They released 3 comics, one involving Sonic, one involving Tails, and one involving Knuckles, and they all led up to the second movie. They could have done that if it was too expensive to render Knuckles for all 6 episodes of the show, to the point where they had to shut him in the background and give Wade most of the screen time. And it's disappointing. It's kind of like the Transformers movies in a way, but a lot less infuriating. How you have these CGI characters, but it's so expensive to render them that you just push them in the background and focus on the human characters all the time. And that's not what we want to see. We don't want to see the human characters, we want to see the title characters we came for. But yeah, that's my opinion. Honestly, the Knuckles show isn't terrible, it's just a big disappointment and a missed opportunity. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's not bad, not the worst. I did enjoy most of it, but I really felt like it could have been better. Not great, but just better. Anyway, that's all I gotta say for now. Toshi the Panda signing out. See y'all next time.